Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Hi. Another family that I definitely don't necessarily want to hang with is, hopefully everyone has great plans. I secretly hope it's something far darker. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. And welcome to another mixed video of book recommendations and books I want to read. So as I was thinking about the holiday season, start thinking about family and plans, and I thought how fun it would be to bring together a bunch of books about maybe some families you don't necessarily want to be hanging out with, or that you might be grateful you're not spending your holiday with per se. So a bunch of thrillers, mysteries, hijinks, games, murder, all the things that I love. So let's just get into it. 'Tis the season for time spent with family. So let's start strong with Death in the Family by Tessa Wiegert. So I have talked about this book before, and that's because I just love it so very much. And this is the first book in the Inspector Shayna Merchant series. So the fourth book just came out. One of my many, many missions is to get caught up and read them all. But in this book, we are meeting Shayna, and it's about a year after she has left New York City as an NYPD detective, and she's moved to upstate New York with her fiance to his kind of sleepy hometown, and she's looking for a bit of a break from the madness she left behind. But luckily for all of us, bad things happen, even in small towns. So in this one, we are meeting Shayna as she is embarking on this investigation on this island nearby where she lives. And it's not just any old island. It's an island that this family actually owns. And they have called in the fact that someone in their family is missing. So the grandson of the owner of the island has gone missing. He is an adult, and there is blood in his bed, but there is no sign of him. So Shayna and her partner go out to the island to investigate, and we get a nor'easter, we get a deliciously rich people behaving badly kind of a family, all the fun suspects, very Agatha Christie vibes, and I loved this. So we really start to get an insight into Shayna and her past. I love her and her partner, and I just love the delicious rich people behaving badly. It made me very happy. That's not my family. So you can absolutely read this as a standalone. The mystery is resolved in this book, so you're not like stuck on a cliffhanger and like forced to enter a series if you don't want to. But I think you will probably want to because Shayna is absolutely amazing, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. So book number 1. Great times. So the next book I have is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. So I read this one earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. I'm a huge Lisa Jewell fan, which you guys would know if you have spent a little time here with me. And I had my eye on this book for a while, and I finally picked it up and was kicking myself for like, why didn't I pick it up sooner? So this book follows 3 different points of view and 2 different timelines. And I love the characters in this. I love the slow burn mystery of this. I love like the not knowing but think you know, trying to resolve what happened in this book. So in this book, it's almost as if the house is the central character of this book, and it's an abandoned mansion on the Thames in London in the Chelsea neighborhood, and it's worth millions even though it's completely run down and no one has lived in there for 25 years. So 25 years ago, the police were called to this house because of a baby crying. And when they got there, they found the baby, 10-month-old baby, upstairs crying but otherwise totally fine. But in the kitchen, they find 3 dead bodies, all dressed in black, and the other children who reportedly lived at this house are nowhere to be found. And there were so many theories about what happened in this house that no one has ever figured it out. So in present day, we are meeting Libby Jones, who on her 25th birthday gets a letter that tells her that she has inherited this house, and she's going to finally find out who she is. So as we come to find, Libby is not the only person who was waiting for her 25th birthday to arrive. And we start to get, as I say, multiple timelines, multiple POVs, past and present, trying to figure out what the heck happened in this house, who these people are. I loved it so much. And if, like me, you loved it, the good news is she wrote a sequel to it called The Family Remains. So I don't think this was conceived as a book to have a sequel, but I think like a lot of authors, Lisa Jewell fell in love with the characters. There was more story to tell, so she wound up writing a sequel this year. But what I love about this, which I haven't read it yet, but what I know about this is while there is some crossover character, we get a whole bunch of new characters in this. So there's lots of resolution to this book, but doors open. And then in this book, the door gets like whoop, totally pulled open. So I don't want to say too much about this book just in case you guys haven't read this one yet, but like I would say happy those people were not my family. And I'm really interested to find out what happens next, because there were characters I very much enjoyed and am very intrigued to find out what happens next. And we get some more police investigation, is my understanding, in book number 2, which you guys know I always love. So you can't go wrong with Lisa Jewell, in my opinion. And there you go, more messed up family. So a couple books I've talked about in recent book hauls and sort of some of my recent reading plans, and I'm just reinforcing the fact that I plan to read these books. Hold me accountable. The first one is The Family Game by Catherine Steadman, and it says playing can be murder. So this book definitely has a snowy, wintry holiday vibe to it. So it starts in November. Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library read it and was raving about it, so I asked her, sort of, is this holiday-ish? But we go through December in this book. So 'tis the season if you're into that. And sounds like a totally messed up family. So in this one, we have Harriet Reed, and she is newly engaged to Edward Holbeck, the heir to an extremely powerful American family. When Edward's father hands her a tape of a book he's been working on, she's desperate to listen. But as she presses play, it's clear that this isn't a novel, it's a confession to murder. Feeling isolated and confused, Harriet must work out if this is all part of a plan to test her loyalty or something far darker. I secretly hope it's something far darker, because this might be a game to the Holbeck family, but games can be deadly. So it says the rules: listen carefully, do your research, trust no one, run for your life. So this has been compared in the sense that when other people heard the plot to that movie Ready or Not, which I said I knew nothing about, and then I went and did some research, and I realized the guys who did Scream 2022 are behind Ready or Not. So I 1000% looked into it, but haven't watched it yet. But I also saw that Adam Brody is in it, so I'm like, how did I miss that? But anyway, that's a lot about a lot, but that family also looks terribly messed up. So if you're looking for a messed up family movie, like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but it looks fairly horrifying. So of course I'm going to watch it. But in the meantime, I'm going to read this book. They have nothing to do with each other, but people are reminded of the premise of the two. But I've heard great things about this book, and I'm really looking for something I can just completely get engrossed in and like not want to get up off the couch and stop reading. So I feel like this could be a good one. And then what I think is probably a little cozier, but again, I haven't read it yet, so I'm not for sure, is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. So this one caught my eye because of the back of the book, which said 12 clues, 12 keys, 12 days of Christmas, but how many will die before 12th night? So this is the annual Christmas game at Endgame House, the grand family home of the Armitage family. So in this one, we are following our main character, Lily, who has wanted to have nothing to do with this family since her mom died 21 years ago. But the carrot is dangled in front of her to bring her back this year because her aunt promises her that the riddles of this year's game, which the prize is the deed to this fabulous, fabulous house, but if Lily wins, she will also get the answers to what actually happened to her mom. So, of course, Lily is pulled in. So in this one, we get maps, we get clues, we get things that I love, we get a family tree, and I have read that this is more armchair detective, so there's also like fun for the reader in that sense where you're supposed to play along, which I just love to do. So this one sounds really fun. And it also reminds me very much of, not a holiday book, but of The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this is the first book in a 3-book series. The first book is totally the best. I enjoyed this series as a whole, but I really loved this one the most. And again, you can read this as a one and done if you want to. And this is secret passages, riddles, games, family messing with this girl. So this is a YA book, but I think it has adult appeal to it. It also has Westing Game vibes, if that was a book that you were a fan of as a kid or as an adult. I just read it this year. So I feel like that's one that, not necessarily family-centric, but game-centric. But in this one, we are following a girl named Avery Grams. So she is a junior in high school. She is very down on her luck. Her mom passed away. She lives with her stepsister. They share a father, and he has been out of the picture for years. So Avery kind of sleeps in her car half the time. Her sister's just trying to keep things together. And Avery winds up getting a visit from a lawyer to tell her that she has been named in a will of this billionaire who lives down in Texas. And she and her sister have been requested to come down for the reading of the will. So the hitch is, not only does Avery not even know who this man is, But when the will is read, she finds out that this man who she's never met before has left her everything. Meanwhile, his 4 grandsons, his children are like, what did you just do? Like, what is this? And it becomes a game to try and figure out what's going on. Why her? It becomes people trying to, dispute the will, and it puts Avery's life in danger. And I just loved it. I had so much fun with this book. I've read it twice now. And I think it's so well done. It's twisty. There's good humor to this. There's great characters in this. I do love the Hawthorne brothers so very, very much. And I think we are supposed to, and I totally do. And it was just great fun. So again, if you just kind of want to get lost in a book, this is definitely bingeable. And there's some members of the Hawthorne family I'd be totally fine hanging out with, but there's other ones that I would like to have no part of. So there you go, messed up people in this book. Another book that I'm excited to dive into is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and this is by Benjamin Stevenson. So this comes out in January in the US. This already came out in the UK, which I purchased this from Book Depository because I really wanted to read it after seeing people in the US who had ARCs of it say how amazing it was. So in this one, it says, everyone in my family is a killer. Everyone in my family is a suspect, but which of them is a murderer? So I intentionally don't want to know too much about this book, but we are meeting the Cunningham family at a family reunion, and our main character, whose name is not disclosed in the opening flap. So it just says, I was dreading the family reunion even before the first murder, before the storm stranded us at the mountain resort. The thing is, us Cunninghams don't really get along. We've only got one thing in common. We've all killed someone. And again, it says there are plenty of killers in my family, but only one murderer. So I believe we get the isolation vibe in this. We definitely get snow, so it's a wintry vibe. And I mean, a family of killers, but not murderers? What is happening here? Don't know. Don't think I want to hang out with these people, but I totally want to read about these people. And then the last book I have is Not a Happy Family by Sherry LaPena. So I read this last year. This was actually gifted to me by Christine for my birthday, which was so sweet last year. And I definitely enjoyed this book. I'm a big fan of Sherry LaPena. And in this book, and I'm not only saying this because there's a character named Audrey in here, but this book was such delicious fun. So we are following a rich people behaving badly kind of a family, my favorite, and they live in Brecon Hill in upstate New York, and our matriarch, patriarch, I always mess this up, Fred and Sheila Merton are certainly rich, but even all their money can't protect them when a killer comes to call. The Mertons are brutally murdered the night after an Easter dinner with their 3 adult kids, who of course are devastated. Or are they? ... They each stand to inherit millions. They were never a happy family thanks to their vindictive father and neglectful mother, but perhaps one of the siblings is more disturbed than anyone knew. Did someone snap after that dreadful evening? Or did another person appear later that night with the worst of intentions? That must be what happened. After all, if one of your family were capable of something as gruesome as this, you'd know, wouldn't you? So in this one, again, we get multiple POVs. We kind of get everybody's version of what happened that night, and a lot of mystery, obviously, surrounding who murdered the parents, what were the motives, who could be behind it. And I really enjoyed this. I read this one really quickly. I really just enjoy Sherry LaPena's writing. I think it's just such great fun. And again, I'm not just saying this because there's a character named Audrey in here. Although I always get a little bit of a little excited when I see that because it's rare. But I really enjoyed this book. Again, just messed up families, man. But again, I really enjoyed this. I had great fun with it. And I feel like you read about these messed up families and it kind of helps put everything in perspective. So that's going to do it for today's video. Just a couple ideas. If your own family is driving you crazy, maybe you want to read about some other people's families instead. Or if you want to escape into somebody else's family, here are some options for you. But let me know what books you would recommend that have that family vibe to it. It doesn't have to be a thriller. Obviously, this is just sort of my gravitational pull, but I love reading about families, especially like I say, the rich people behaving badly ones. But on that note, let me know what's going on. Let me know if you've read any of these. Like I said, some of these are to be read. And honestly, I am aiming to read them all by January, so stay tuned for that. I'm gonna try and make some promises to myself and actually keep them. So until then, I hope everyone's doing great, and I will talk to you guys in another video. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And I did it all backwards, but that's totally okay. And I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.